So you've poured months, maybe even years, into building your app. The absolute last thing you want is a takedown notice from Google Play because of some IP rule you didn't even know existed. Well, today, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're breaking down Google's intellectual property policies, piece by piece.
It's a genuinely scary thought, right? A single image, that one logo, or a sound clip you thought was totally fine could be the very thing that gets your app pulled from the store. But here's the good news. By the end of this, you'll have a super clear roadmap to avoid those kinds of mistakes.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Look, Google's policy documents are long, they're detailed, but if you strip everything else away, you'll find it's all built on one single foundational rule.
I mean, you can't get much clearer than that. The core idea is just so simple. Don't use what isn't yours. This is the guiding principle for absolutely everything else. But that, of course, raises a big question. What exactly falls under that huge umbrella of intellectual property? Well, this is where it gets a lot broader than just copying someone's code. Google is watching for trademark violations, brand names and logos. They're looking at copyright, that's all the art, music, and text, and it even covers things like patents and trade secrets. Any one of these can trigger a violation.
So let's dig into the area where most developers accidentally get into trouble: copyright. This is all about protecting original creative works.
And this right here is a massive trap. So many developers think, oh, I'll just change the colors on this character, or I'll just remix this song a little bit. But Google's policy is crystal clear. Even if you modify the content, it can still be an infringement.
And just look at how common these kinds of violations are. If you're building an app about movies, it is so tempting to just grab the official poster, right? Or what about a soundboard app that uses famous catchphrases? These are exactly the kinds of things that get flagged, often automatically.
And it doesn't stop with media either. Using a pro sports team's logo, grabbing a celebrity's photo from their Instagram, even creating fan art that's just too close to the original, all of that can get you in hot water. The key word to remember here is indistinguishable. If someone can't really tell it apart from the real thing, you're in that danger zone.
Now here's a subtle but really critical rule. Your app might not contain any copyrighted material itself, but if its main purpose is to help users download or stream stuff they don't have the rights to, that's also a violation. And they'll even look at your store listing and screenshots as evidence.
All right, let's switch gears from copyright to another major area, trademarks. People often confuse trademark infringement with counterfeiting, but in Google's world, they are two very distinct problems. A trademark is all about brand identity. Think of the Nike swoosh or the name Coca-Cola. Infringement happens when you use a similar mark that could confuse somebody into thinking your app is officially connected to that brand when it's not. It all boils down to that phrase, likelihood of confusion.
Counterfeiting, on the other hand, is just flat-out deception. It's not about causing confusion, it's about trying to pass your product off as the real deal. It's making an exact or near-exact copy to trick people.
So here's probably the simplest way to think about it. Trademark infringement creates confusion about whether your app is connected to a brand. Counterfeiting is pure imitation. It's pretending your app is that brand's product. And you can bet both are very serious violations.
Okay, so we know what not to do. But what happens if someone accuses you of infringement? And more importantly, how can you prevent it from happening in the first place? Let's talk solutions.
So, what happens when a trademark complaint comes your way? Well, it doesn't always go straight to Google. The policy actually encourages the rights holder to contact you, the developer, directly first. This is your chance to resolve it before things escalate to a formal complaint with Google.
Now, this right here is probably the single most important piece of practical advice in this whole explainer. If you actually have permission, maybe you've licensed a logo or you have a contract to use certain assets, don't wait for your app to get flagged. You need to be proactive.
So here's exactly what you do. Get your licensing agreements or whatever written permissions you have ready to go. Then you contact the Google Play team before you submit your app. I'm serious, this one simple step can save you from an automatic rejection and a massive headache down the line.
We've covered a lot of ground, from all the copyright traps to the trademark rules, so let's bring it all home with the one piece of advice that pretty much guarantees you'll stay on the right side of the line.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this, and this comes directly from Google's own guidance. When you're in doubt, just don't use it. The safest and honestly the most creative path forward is to build something that is entirely 100% yours.
So as you get ready to launch your next great idea,
Just ask yourself that one simple question. From the code to the icons to the name itself, is it truly original? Answering that question honestly is the best possible way to protect all your hard work and build something that lasts on the Play Store.